In this video, we're going to be talking about a major nor'easter that's going to bring up to hurricane force wind gust and flooding, along with multiple rounds of severe weather, including tornadoes. So if you're new to the channel, click the subscribe button and notification bell to get all my daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. So let's get right to it. This is your Tuesday, October the 26th update, and we've got a lot going on starting off in the Northeast, because this is the first round of precipitation of what's going to be two to come just in the next 24 hours. That first round has already dumped upwards to 4 inches of rain in and around the New Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey area, but that's pulling in all that deep, warm ocean waters into the Northeast with heavy rain along into New York City, going into Rhode Island. And that's just the first round. They've got multiple school closings today. They've got state of emergencies in parts of New York as well as New Jersey. So this is a dangerous day ahead, because throughout the day, we're going to have a developing nor'easter that's going to be maximizing by midnight tonight. As well, we have another deep system coming into the midsection of the country that's pulling up the remnants from what was Hurricane Rick just slamming the coast of Mexico yesterday. That's going to set the stage for severe weather setup going into tonight into portions of Kansas and Oklahoma and Texas, and that's going to continue to moving across to the eastward over the next several days. So let's zoom into this and take a look at the overall hazards, because we still have got a lot of precipitation coming in off the west coast here as well, with another fire hose setup. This time is going to be over Washington, and that's why they implemented these flash flood watches in place for that region. But they've got numerous high winds and high winds warnings with that dynamic system that's coming across. There's your flash flood watches in and around the New Jersey area, New York City, going into Rhode Island, Connecticut, into Massachusetts, and then your high wind watches right around Rhode Island, getting into Nantucket there, Cape Cod area, as well as portions of Massachusetts. And these high sea warnings of these 25-foot waves are going to be just offshore. So now let's take a look at there's a 50% chance of this is what could be subtropical storm Wanda, if it's able to have some sort of like tropical storm type characteristics. So this is going to be that developing nor'easter that we're going to be talking about. Whether it gains subtropical Wanda status or not, it's already labeled Invest 94L, or just a deepening low pressure that's going to produce a bomb cyclone dropping of more than 24 millibars in a 24-hour time span. The impacts are going to be the same regardless of what actually is going to be named. But how this is going to work out is it's developing right now, and it's going to come up the coast, and it's going to do like a loop. So when it does that loop, that's when you're going to have the greatest impacts, probably around midnight tonight. And we'll go over all that, and then it's going to be looping back and pulling out to sea as you go out through the day tomorrow. So it's going to be a very high impact event for the next 24 hours for portions of the Northeast. So let's zoom into this latest European model and kind of give you an idea of where this could particularly be by tonight, Tuesday night at 11 p.m. Eastern time. You can see right here, that would be your low pressure center just off the coast of Cape Cod there. Wrapping around these little white arrows here shows you the wind direction of where these winds are going to be crashing ashore. And some of these winds are going to be pumping up to hurricane force wind gust as this really maximizes and kind of bottoms out as you get into later into the evening, because still the latest data has this drop into a 973 millibar low pressure. That is a bona fide potent storm and a classic nor'easter setup. And if this is wintertime, this would easily dump a foot or two of snow in this region. But this is all going to be of the form of high winds and heavy rain over the next 24 hours. So let's take a look at some of those wind gusts. Here's kind of gives you an idea of where this could particularly be by midnight tonight on Tuesday night going into Wednesday morning. Right around 26 miles an hour in Philly, 33 miles an hour in Trenton, 36 in New York City. Now you get closer to the coast, the winds start increasing. Brentwood 47, Waterbury 52, Norwich 55. Now you get into places like Providence, Rhode Island, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. This is right around midnight tonight. Get into Boston area, that's getting close to hurricane force wind gusts of 71 miles an hour coming ashore. You get out here by the Cape Cod, right along the coast here, yeah, that's 83-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So this storm means business, and it's really going to be packing a punch, putting that high winds crashing ashore, along with the very heavy rainfall that we're expecting over the next 24 hours. So there's the setup on the radar imagery as this deepening low pressure. You can see the isobars really start to tighten up. That's a great gradient right here, is going to be pushing all that water inland. So there's New Jersey, getting into PA, into New York here, and all of Long Island, getting into Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Cape Cod, the area into Boston's going to get crushed with this system as these winds are going to be wrapping around. Even southern portions of Maine going into Vermont, New Hampshire are still going to be impacted from this event later on tonight. So let's give you an idea of the rainfall. Now, this doesn't even account what's actually falling right now, okay? So this is that second system. As I'm putting the video together, it's about 10 o'clock. So this is just over the next 24 hours. And like I mentioned, they've already received upwards to 4 inches of rain in and around the Trenton, New Jersey area. And this would be an additional upwards to 6 inches. So you're talking possibly 10 inches total with this system. That's why they've got the flash flood warnings in place, the flash flood watches in place. The ground is completely saturated. Places like New York City has picked up 52 inches on the year, 12 inches above average, and we're talking adding another 4 inches on top of the 1 to 2 you've already gotten already. So that what makes this a dangerous setup. This is going to be a pretty big, a really big event. So definitely be weather aware from not only from the floodwaters that are going to be creeping up tonight, but the very heavy rain, heavy wind, especially if you live in and around the Rhode Island area into Boston, those heavier winds of 2 to 3 inch rains on top of the hurricane force wind gust right around 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. Going to be a crazy time right around this area. So definitely batten down the hatches from this high impact event that's going to be crashing in the Northeast throughout the day into tonight. But while this is going on, we still got a dangerous setup for severe weather setting up over the midsection of the country. The Storm Prediction Center has highlighted enhanced risk for areas of storms breaking out by 7, 8 o'clock tonight, going into Oklahoma City, Abilene, Texas, Norman, Oklahoma, Wichita Falls, Texas, into Lawton, Oklahoma. These areas will be under the gun to seeing all 3 modes of severe weather: tornadoes, large hail, and those damaging winds. And this will go into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, get all the way down into portions of San Antonio, into Austin, into Waco, going all the way up into upwards to Kansas, even Nebraska. Going to be seeing some of those strong to severe thunderstorms as we go throughout the day. So let's highlight the tornado threat, because that's going to be huge. The terrain parameters on this one is actually creeping up. So I'm maybe in further updates, they might actually put a 10% risk zone somewhere in this corridor, you know, some of the data that I'm actually looking at. But right now, you're under the gun from Oklahoma City to Abilene to Norman, Oklahoma to Wichita Falls. All these areas going into Kansas here, going to be under the gun for seeing some of those tornadoes within, say, like 7 p.m. to midnight tonight time frame. That's the peak time. And even down in as these start to weaken, you could still see an isolated tornado threat as these storms push eastward, going into Dallas, into Arlington, into Wichita, Kansas, going into Plano, Texas. Still not out of the question, not nearly as high, but it's a very low risk, but it's still a possibility along this nasty squall line that could set up. Here's the wind threat, because it's going to be the most damaging threat, is the wind threat of these packing a punch of that hatched risk of those 65 knots. That's upward to hurricane force, 75-mile-per-hour wind gust, as this is going to be forming into a nasty squall line overnight. Straight line wind event, damage, could be have some, you know, isolated EFZ tornadoes, straight line wind damage with this particular event. And then the hail threat too is susceptible as well. So let's take a look at the tornado parameters, because like I mentioned, these are pretty elevated over portions, say Wichita Falls, going into Lawton, going all the way up into Kansas. We start getting into Kansas and southern portions of Nebraska, you start having some higher amounts. So I kind of expect the Storm Prediction Center to kind of increase this threat as we go into the afternoon update, as we get closer to the 3 o'clock update, and then they'll actually update again around 7:30 tonight before the event actually even starts. Because storm severe thunderstorms and isolated supercells are going to pop up right around 8 o'clock tonight. So I'm going to time this out for you over the next 24 to 48 hours to kind of give you an idea of where the storms could be. I'm expecting supercell thunderstorms to fire up along this boundary from Wichita Falls into, say, getting into portions of Oklahoma here, into Kansas. And as these move across, that's when you got to be susceptible, and they're isolated, of those tornadoes setting up from southern to Nebraska to Kansas to Oklahoma, all the way to the northern parts of the Wichita Falls area. Between, say, 7 and midnight, that's your most higher time frame of seeing some of those tornadoes. So definitely be on high alert during that time frame. As we transition into the midnight hour, those actually congeal into a solid squall line. That's when it transitions in that dangerous straight line wind threat, and you get those 60, 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts along that corridor, and you have a lesser impact of tornadoes, lesser impact of hail from that setup, as this will continue moving across. This is the midnight time frame of where this could particularly be. And as we transition into the 4 a.m. time frame, that's what it's going to be in and around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Central Texas, Waco, Austin, San Antonio, with that nasty squall line giving you an early morning wake up. 4 a.m. winds crashing on your window, heavy rain, small pea-sized hail hitting your windows. So definitely secure all loose objects in the area tonight, preparing for the event in the overnight hours, and park your car in the garage if you can to put it out of the elements. To be as safe as possible. So as we move across and get into that 11 a.m. time frame on Wednesday, that same setup, nasty squall line, is going to be over the Houston Metroplex. So that's when you got to be impacting over there. They've got a slight risk for severe weather for your area over there. In East Texas, eastern parts of Oklahoma, eastern parts of Kansas, and going into Nebraska, then, as that dangerous squall line will continue pushing across as we get into that 7 o'clock time frame on Wednesday night. This kind of gives you an idea. It could be over the New Orleans area by then, over central Mississippi by then, going over central Arkansas. Kind of give you an idea of where those strong to severe thunderstorms could be by then, going into Missouri, getting into Iowa. Not probably severe up here, but definitely along this corridor, or the further south you live, the more severe they're going to be. And this will just continue to move it across. Now we're talking the Florida Panhandle as we go into that 7 a.m. time frame on Thursday morning, with that nasty squall line getting into that region, and then that fishtails down into the Florida Panhandle, even getting down to the central Florida, with that slight risk for severe weather as that squall line continues moving eastward. Here's the setup by Friday morning, October the 29th. We've got another low pressure developing system off the coast. And yeah, more rain along the Carolinas into the Ohio Valley, creeping up the coast again, getting back into New Jersey, getting back into PA here, with some heavier rain moving back in. Saturday morning, going into the October 30th time frame, again, could continue to push up the eastern coast. So you can see it's a very active time for the next couple of days. So definitely be weather aware. And it's not until the end of the month where things start settling down as far as like the severe threat, as this will continue pushing across and then be upward into the main region by then. So as we end the month, you can see the subtle hints of some snow breaking out in Canada into portions of Montana. That's when we have an Arctic blast that's going to come in to start November. And I already did a video on that. So watch the video on the Arctic blast of what could be on the table after we finish this month, going into the first couple of days of November. So be sure to watch that video after you conclude with this one. But so far, between now and the end of the month, we're talking, yeah, possibly up to double-digit totals, adding to those flooding event into in and around New Jersey, going into New York City, going into Massachusetts with these isolated amounts, even swath of 4 to 6 inches. We kind of already went over the totals just on that first event, but adding to those totals, compounding for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, yeah, you could easily pick up another 6 to 8 inches in this area and along, especially along the coastline of the I-95 corridor. There's your bullseye setting up again over Washington. We saw what happened in Northern California. Now we got the fire hose set up, going to be concentrated over Washington. So be on the lookout with some dangerous flash flooding for your region. And then still more heavy rain will be along the coastal regions and the southern Washington as well as Oregon, and then back into Northern California again, as we've got sporadic higher amounts into Iowa, into Missouri, and then going into that severe threat along the area where I showed you what that nasty squall line from Texas along in the deep south. And there's your snow just between now and the end of the month, mainly in the higher elevations. But yes, as we go deeper into going into November, that first week, which is just next week, be sure to watch the video on what's to come, because we got some really cold air on the way after this. So, hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do leave your comments down below. I'm going to be active in the comments today. I know it's a very dangerous day. It's a high impact day. So I want to be able to answer all your questions. So definitely leave your comments below. I will be on guard for the next 24 hours with this particular event, so I can give you well advanced warnings of what may be on the table so you can prepare. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.